Hello. Just realized the light was way too much in my face. So we're going to be working on this odd-looking thing from the Machining Krieger universe. And I think I'm going to go with that paint job. But we'll see. I might carry over some elements from this with the surround on the canopy. And let's get this closer. We'll see. We'll see what we have options for. Hi, Marbles. What? Come here. Why are you down here yelling at me? Anyway. So, decals. And it looks like it should be rather sizable. Comes with some pre-molded hoses, canopy, front ball, pilot polycaps, and this hose, which you're supposed to cut up to do some detailing around it. Don't need that. So how is everybody today? Cats are being strange. Alright, so we got leg parts, detail parts, engine and interior. Alright, let's get cracking on this. Hey, Alex. It looks like there's a few people in here. I don't know. I see numbers, but I don't know if they're current. Oh. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Yeah, this is going to be interesting for sure. So, I'm just kind of reading ahead. It looks like I could do this two ways. Maybe. Nope. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because when I was looking through it before, the arrangement for the wires was a bit confusing. We'll get there when we get there. We'll start on the legs first. Alright. So I need D36 and 37 times 4. Showing one, but I don't know. Okay. I think Aries might be on the YouTube side because he's still at work. But either way's fine. Okay, what is... Oh, Christ on a stick. Panzer IV road wheels. No, I just noticed another part had fallen off the sprue. There it is. Okay. But the wheel loader with the plow didn't seem to go over too well, so I'll probably work on that more off stream. Lately, it seems to be Machining Krieger is the flavor of the year. I need 4 of these. H. Hey, Aries. How's the day going? So, as usual, I'm off today, work the weekend, and then I'll be back on Monday. That is a tight fit. Sorry again if you hear a buzzing in the background. I've got my original series Enterprise going. And that's the sound of the motors in the nacelles. Hey, at least it's Friday, right? Okay. I hate when... I mean, I know why they make the polycaps a little larger. It's so they have friction and help with the movement. But sometimes they just don't want to cooperate. There we go. Yeah, I don't go that far with them. Even though I do plan on taking the Tiger 1 out for a little stroll later today. There's those. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. Because they're left and right-handed, but they're the same. This is what I was talking about before. Tell me those are not Panzer IV road wheels. Oh, come on, autofocus. No? not at all. So I need these. It's files that I got off of Cults3D and printed out. And I know there's some differences in the real ones on the turret basket and stuff, but I didn't feel like dealing with all that. Especially when the Hanglong one isn't made in a way that you can modify that easily. They look the part. I still have to print out the covers that go over the actual emitter for the explosive plate. It's weird though, I've got a video of my Leopard 2A7 testbed. It's got 7,000 views, and it was close to that like within a week of posting. Well, the Merkava's not as much. I think as far as model quality, the Merkava's the better overall model. Oh, it's next week's schedule. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway. Yeah, this stream might be a little slower today, though, since it's just construction. Okay, so... this one goes like this. For left, for right hand. Yeah, I don't know if I'll make shorts for the Tiger. It's an initial production one. So it's one of the Leningrad ones. Okay. And these have to line up here. Okay. And as you can tell in the video for the Merkava, I need to work on my little driving track a lot. I did more to it yesterday, so it is a lot cleaner in the background, but it's still very rough. This one. So what I'm doing as I build them is I'm putting one on the left and then one on the right, just to keep them straight in my own head. The hell? Part of me almost wants to jump ahead to the body. It's overall fewer pieces, but while that's drying, because I can do the stippling and stuff like that on it, and then come back to doing the legs, because they're a bit more involved. I'll just keep going on the legs, I guess. Save the body as a treat. 17, 18, D26. Yeah, we'll see how that works. Kind of a shame everybody got rid of the Gepard. Okay, the details are what make these left or right-handed, and which side I put them on. Alright. Excuse me. And then 2 of the PCIs. And PC is just short for polycap. All right. Now somebody said that this has been made more snap together, which I'm not feeling yet, but even if it were, I'd still be gluing stuff. We might be hitting up these seams with Mr. Surfacer. Exactly. That's what people seem to forget is, look what a single barrel Bradley did to a T90, right? Imagine if that had been a Gepard instead of a Bradley. And from what I could tell, the Bradley wasn't using its tow missiles either. I still have to finish detailing my RC Gepard. It's got all the parts of the A2 version except the Stinger missiles and the different muzzle brakes. And the one place that had the muzzle brakes doesn't have them anymore. Yay. I'll have to see if I can find 3D printable ones. These are all D parts for the left or the right. And we're going to go with this side. Okay, so two of the parts that hopped off the sprue early get glued together anyway. Now the one I'm making here is the right one, and that's the front. Okay. 25. 29 and 32. And 33. If I didn't know better, that's a 16th scale track and link connector. I don't know when the original Camel mock-up was done. Okay, this goes here. This goes like that, and then like that. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a weird one. Right leg. The other D-sprue. And if I seem a little shaky today, I'm sorry. I kind of overdid it yesterday working in the yard. Trying to get back on top of things after the craziness that has been the past year and a half, 2 years. Get off there. This one. But that's what I'm saying, is that's just a 25 millimeter. Imagine if that had been a Gepard. That would have been a much shorter engagement, I think. And it also shows that you don't necessarily need another tank to deal with tanks. Because if you can immobilize it and blind it, it's just as useless. And it looks like the secondary fires were setting off the ERA on the hull, even though they're not supposed to. Either that or that was the smoke dischargers going off from secondaries. I know, old news, but interesting news. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to make heads or tails of the next part of the leg. Excuse me, good. I'm just full of yawns today, ain't I? So a lot of you remember a few streams ago I was talking about Firefly and how Disney owns it now, and it'd be funny if they were to suddenly reboot it. Well, I think it was 2 days ago, Disney announced 8 more episodes of Firefly. I'll just keep my mouth shut from now on. Oh, thanks, Nick. Yep, thanks. And thank you for supporting the YouTube side, too. That's meant honestly. I do have to say, though, I have a little more faith in the cast of Firefly to stand up for any stupidity that they may try and inject into the show. It is for me when I use liquid cement, because the capillary action draws the cement in and around the part. The problem with a lot of liquid cements, and it's something I've seen a lot of modelers do, and then they wonder why their parts fall apart. And I'll show you in a second, I'll give you a demonstration. But it really all deals with the chemistry involved. Just give me one moment to finish trimming the parts that I require. And it's, yeah, like with extra thin and even the tester stuff. Right now I'm using Plastruct plastic weld, which has a slower evaporation rate, so if I wanted to I could just apply it to both parts and put it together. But I found over time that I got a better bond. So we'll use these 2 parts as an example. Okay. First trim up the nubs. So, and this is just an example. So I apply glue here, right? The shine really doesn't show up. I wish I had a darker plastic. And then I put that down and I pick this up. And then I apply glue here. By the time I pick this part back up, the glue is already evaporated. And the chemical reaction it had to soften the plastic is already beginning to lose effect. So then I go and put them together, and yeah, they might be a little tacky and they may stick together a little bit, but the bond is already weak, right? So I could take them back apart relatively easily, and it didn't really mar the surfaces very well. However, if you put the parts together and just hold them loosely, you don't want to like fully press them together. You want just a little bit of room. I missed a couple nubs here, sorry. So when I touch it here, an adequate amount gets drawn between the parts for a little bit. And it's touching both parts at the same time, which allows the chemical reaction to soften the plastic, resulting in a stronger bond. Just give it a squeeze, but make sure you don't pop it away and get it all over your fingers, requiring more sanding and cleanup. But that's essentially the idea behind it, is with the parts closer together, the glue flows easier and it reacts to the plastic more evenly, allowing it to bond properly. And on these, they're kind of almost snap together tight. So they were tight to begin with. And then just putting it on there gets sucked around it and really bonds it together. You're welcome. And thanks for being on the channel. And for anyone new here, be sure you give it a like. Subs on YouTube are free. There is that too. Again, it all depends on the way you do it as well. So that goes this way, and that goes that way. According to the instructions, that's how it's supposed to go. But why do I feel like that's wrong? Now, one of the Mr. Cements, I think it's the one that comes in the green bottle, is a little bit thicker and more viscous. See, that feels right to me. It's centered. I'm gonna go with that. If I did it wrong, I can always cut it and pin it. But I think I did it right. And just also be aware that super glue, while in the short term provides an excellent bond, is not conducive to a long-term bond. Super glue actually begins to degrade and become brittle over time. So how much of this will be visible once it's assembled? This goes here. This slides in here. I'm just trying to figure out how much of the seam I'll be able to access and sand. Looks like most of it. And then this goes here. Oh, I need 3 hands. Actually, I have an idea. Just very loosely together. Pop that in. Squeeze. Same thing here. here. Darn it, can't see it too well. Okay, that was an almost good idea. Because this has to sit right inside the 2 circles in there, and if it's not, it'll flop around like you saw it doing. Come on, just pop into one side and stay. There we go. Okay, this one's in place. This one has a little bit more leeway since it's a slide channel. So let's hold you in the orientation that I need you in. Why do I get the feeling that Nikki's here to see how I overcome the difficulties of this kit? Yeah, Wargaming's another one for that, especially with the mixed media models. I wish the plastic wasn't white. I've got my intensity down a bit. Let me see if I could pop this down a little further. Properties, configure. Yeah, let's see here. Camera control. Pop the exposure down one more. Apply, okay. Alright, that might help a little bit. Come on, focus. Now, I haven't glued the rest, but I want to show you something here. Autofocus doesn't want to help today. You can probably barely make it out, but you can see where a little ridge of plastic is between the parts now. That's actually good, especially on the seams like that, because that can save you filler in the long term. Because it means the pressure was good enough that it squeezed a ridge of plastic out, and now you can sand that off and have a good even surface. No worries, Aries. One issue I have heard of with this model, though, is I don't know if it's people not pushing it together well enough on the polycaps. It could be builder error, but I think it could be model error too. It's too heavy for its own joints. Alright, now let's do this all again. Did I miss something, Alex? Oh. Let's see here. And the sub, thank you. Yep, we're getting there. Ow. YouTube's algorithm seems to be a little schizophrenic lately anyway. Let me know if the music's a little loud, too. Much appreciated. Just lately, I think the algorithm, regardless of how it's set, isn't as effective. I'm seeing, I gotta turn this down on my end. I'm seeing more of a push for a Facebook style promote your channel, promote your reels, promote your shorts kind of thing. And to me, that's actually having a negative effect. Not like a personally negative effect, but an engagement negative engagement across the board. Two examples, one that's more recent that I'll use. Has anyone been bombarded by a really gaunt-looking, like almost American-style redneck guy that just says nonsensical motivation quotes in a really croaky voice? I don't search for stuff like that. I don't ask to see stuff like that. It's nowhere in my history for my algorithm, yet it popped up on many different channels, like multiple different usernames. That to me is noise. Every time that guy popped up, it was a chance for another thing that I do follow, I do search, or I do look for to not be seen. Yet the only thing I can think of to explain it is it was paid for. Promotion. It was promoted. The only other time that's happened was, I think it was early last year, maybe the year before, and Pirate Software's stuff did much the same thing. The only thing that I could think of, though, is both channels, or both creators, were promoted somehow. Monetarily. But I have no proof in that. But it's the only two times something like that's happened. And monetary promotion is the only thing I could think of that would cause that kind of rapid dissemination in such a short time. I mean, I don't know, did any of you see my shorts pop up on your feed at all? That would be neat to know, honestly, just to know if anything's being put out there, but I'm sure they probably pop up when I post a new one if you're a subscriber. But I've also noticed the other way it works is if you don't subscribe to a channel but you've watched it once, for a time, YouTube will recommend all of that creator's content all the time. Whereas if you subscribe, you'll just get their most recent. I'll be able to send that okay. Alright. But if a monetary promotion is the case, maybe I should do that. No, that would be annoying to others. Okay, but it hasn't been like an overabundance though, just a little at a time. I'm just trying to figure out how the whole thing's supposed to work, so I can, in a good way, take advantage of it. Not to the point of annoyance for other people, but just so I know my stuff's getting out there. So. Oh, there's a nice example of that ridge. Okay, let's... Come on, autofocus. Be nice for once. Actually, I know what I can do. Oh, no wonder it was checked off. What the hell? Okay. Come on. I hate working with white plastic on stream, but it's nature of the beast. There, you see that ridge running right down the middle, right here? That's what I was talking about. You can shave that off real easily. I'm just looking to see what all goes on it to see if I have to, because like this will need cleanup. I'll be putting some Mr. Surfacer along here, and we'll just sand it back with some sandpaper. Because it's got some divots and gaps, some weird unions, so. PCI and PCF. And I'm just genuinely curious about how people found the channel, so I can keep doing whatever it is that made that happen. Okay, so the eyes go up here. Down here. There. Well, at least we got one day free of spam calls. Sorry, my phone just keeps going off, so I have to just hang it up. Okay. So 28 goes at the top areas, 27 at the bottom. God, we're only on step 3 still. Starting on 4. You go here. You here. Excuse me. You'll have to see where the package is tonight. It's according to tracking, it hasn't left Japan, but the tracking updates could be like a day behind. I know it was being processed through Tokyo International, but the Oscars should be on the way. Hopefully, it'll be here in the next week or so. I won't be streaming for a week around January 9th. There's a lot of family stuff coming up due to my son's graduation and work and schedules and things like that, so I'll have no time during that time period. Ooh, excuse me. Good. Alright, and while I let this set up for a moment, it's been an hour, so we're going to take a stand up and move around break. I suggest everybody else do the same. So if you've been sitting and working on anything for an hour, get up and move around. Your blood clots and legs will thank you for it. So I'm going to pause it and be right back. Alright, I am back. That was a good cupcake. So if I remember right, the Camel is basically one of the mercenary units. And it's technically used on the moon. Don't know if it's got Earth use in its history. But this would fight things like the Lunar Gans, the Croat, and the Grosserhund variants that go up there. Okay. So right. Left. Just trying to keep the leg pieces straight forward, which ones are right, which ones are left, so I don't get them mixed up and run into big trouble when I go to put them on the body. D10 and 24. I don't see why you couldn't. Yeah, because that's all just a separate module anyway. Like I almost wanted to start the stream with the body, because that's just a bigger piece, fewer parts, quicker progress. But let's get the slog out of the way first, and then we can get to... Let's get the breadsticks out of the way before we get to the steak. Okay, so D24, D10... I'm not lighting it. I'm already lighting enough things lately. I'm not gonna start putting lights in machining Krieger stuff, because then I'd have to go back and rebuy everything, and I really don't want to spend another $350 on a resin Koenigskrot. So when do the Panzer IV road wheels come into play? It would have been nice, I know Tamiya does it, they did it on their F-16 kit anyway, if they gave you an option for a light or a dark canopy. That way you could do the light one, if you wanted, for easier visuals, but it would also allow you to give it that transparent gold treatment to make it more like a spacesuit, like lens kind of thing. But it's not as dark as the Heinrich suit, I will say that. It is definitely a darker plastic, but it's not almost black like it is on some of the suits. Alright. So Doing the right one first. These go here. I'm just glad I was able to snag an Oscar at around fair market value. Did I just make this the right one? I did. Oh well. So this one will be left. Let's make sure I have it oriented the right way. There. That could have been bad had I not noticed that and built them both the same way. There we go. Oh, we're still working on these legs. Okay. So, D15 and 16. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Polycap J. Alright, so that little thing there goes there, and then that goes into there, and that'll fall out when you do this, so it makes it even harder. And you gotta put that back in there. Alright, that's why that slides back and forth, because it gives you limited pivot. Alright. So let's put this back into place. So would have had a model club meeting last night. But I don't think I'm really gonna go anymore. At least not for a while. Between the traffic that's in the area now, and it's like tripled in the past few months. The place where the meeting location is located has 2 apartment complexes that also share the parking lot. There's only one way in or out, and it's on a turn right before a very major intersection. So that alone has been really making it difficult for me to get there because I just do not feel safe pulling in. The parking, and there's just a certain element of I don't know how to describe it. There's some people I'd rather not be around coming in now. Oh, nice. I tried ordering from him once, and it didn't go well. Like, the order just wouldn't complete. I couldn't get it to go. I forget what it was. I think I was trying to order the stuff to do the Leopard 2A6M with the slat armor. So I don't have the savvy to order from his way of doing it. I know it's not difficult, but my brain just can't wrap around it. It's my own fault. There you go. Now, is it Pratt & Whitney or GE engine on that F-16? That's neat. It doesn't look like the feet are handed. They look symmetrical. Let me see something. Yeah, the feet are symmetrical. It tells you left or right on one of them. Ah, this is what makes them left or right-handed. These 2 pieces right here. So you gotta be careful which one you're gluing where. So, yeah. One has an opening for a cable. One doesn't. Easiest way to tell, GE engine nozzles are broader and smoother. Pratt & Whitney turkey feathers are narrower and tighter together. Let's see. I'm going to build 2 of the basic feet first, and then we'll worry about left or right-handedness. That music's over, so let me get to the next one. And a lot of people say that, oh, only the Block 50 F-16s had the GE engines. Nope. I was in a 4042 unit. I was in 2 4042 units that had GE engines, and another unit that had Pratt & Whitney. These glue here. They do. Okay. These go like that. Okay. I think I prefer the Hasegawa Machine and Krieger kits over the Wave ones for the most part. The Wave kits, the newer releases I built from them, like, the Hasegawa kits feel like the old Nitto kits, especially the newer stuff. Like, this was never made by Nitto, so you wouldn't find it in their catalog. Whereas if you look at the Wave examples of some of their newer stuff, like the, what was it that they did? Not the Fireball SG. Oh, which one was it? I built it. The parts don't feel the same, like, in how they're broken down. It feels less like you're building a model and more like you're assembling a toy. That's about the best descriptor I can have for that. So Pratt & Whitney engines? Okay. So when they oxidized, their turkey feathers turned a more bluish tone, where the GEs were more of a honey gold color. But I remember many a cold morning sticking the sleeve of my Gore-Tex into the exhaust of an F-16 to fill it up with warm air. Yeah, at idle, if you're careful, you can stick your sleeve into just the outer edge of the exhaust and get some nice warm air. You'll smell like jet exhaust the rest of the day, but you're warm. You wouldn't want to stick it all the way into the exhaust, no. Either that, or you'd sit by the ECS exhaust in the left-hand wheel well. But usually the crew chief was already there. I think ours was 8. Bit more woody smelling. Hey Nub, it's going alright. How you been? Welcome back. We are working on the Camel by Hasegawa from Machining Krieger, or SF3D, and I'm trying to not burp really loud. Don't remind me. No, things are going well here. Well, my son is now a licensed driver as well. He passed all of his tests. And my wife's had him driving on the way to school and back and while they go out and do errands, so he's actually getting practical experience before his test, where it seems like other kids in his class did not. So yep, I am feeling really old right now. Wait, what am I saying? I am really old. Alright, 2 feet made. Let's just go over the front. No. Okay. Yeah, but unlike all of his stuff like, sorry, my brain train derailed. Like his little video game systems and everything, we told him up front Um, he is not... If he were to wreck a vehicle, we are not buying a replacement for it. That is up to him to do. It is his responsibility. You know, because we've been nice and we've been helping to replace his game systems and stuff, but now he's also got a job, which means he can afford his own things. And it's up to him to learn whether games and junk food are more important than gasoline, car payments, and things like that. And hopefully he's a good driver and we don't have to worry about too much of that. But in Utah, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because drivers here are just nasty. Alex, you know what really makes me feel old? The fact that I've got a 46-year-old car and I'm still older than that car. And what's really sad is that it's economically better to own that old car than it is to own a new one right now. Come on, get into place. I don't think these are supposed to stand proud. No, they're not. Okay. They are flush with the foot. But yeah, in the next couple weeks, so son's graduation's at the end of the month, and just with everything going on, you're not wrong, Ants. It means you're living life. But family's going to be coming here for a graduation party. Right? But no, just because of how he is, it's sometimes difficult for him to grasp that, you know, sometimes mom and dad can't be replacing all your stuff all the time. Got to start taking a little responsibility for it. Right? Yeah, he graduates in a couple weeks, but with all the parties going on there, and then Jen driving to Washington for parties, and then more stuff going on after that, like I said, there's going to be a week in June where I am unable to stream. Just too much going on. Not a bad too much, just too much going on. Yeah, we've dealt with a lot of stuff over the years, making sure we're trying to raise him as good as we can. But he's made it so far. Okay. So I'm studying these parts because there is a directional orientation. So there's this. Okay. And then D22. D23. But I was also saying last stream that he's actually graduating high school with some accredits, or from some accreditation, I guess you could say. I don't know. But he's completed a lot of college courses in high school pertaining to automotive and things like that. So he's getting a sash and things for graduation. Things we really didn't expect him to take an interest in at all, to be honest. Because he was always about video games and weather. And it's something, even after all these years, that my wife and I have still not been able to kind of figure out. Our guess is it's the noise, but what is it? There seems to be some kind of correlation between, like, interest in, like, weather and stuff like that, and autism. Especially, like, the weather radios. No, if you knew how hard-headed he could be, you wouldn't want him touching the car. So, he helps on the Camaro, but only when I deem it possible. I'm not about to let him loose on it. Not yet, anyway. This one goes here. With him, it was just setting off the alert. He'd actually change the region for the radio so it would pick up like Kansas and Tennessee and Minnesota and stuff like that. And he'd have them all set, like 10 of them. So remember that period of time where I just was getting no sleep? You wouldn't either if you had 10 weather radios going off at 3 in the morning. Okay. But that's died down as he's gotten more interested in cars and stuff like that. I really haven't heard a weather radio go off in about a year now. And I don't know if he watches the VODs, but fuck it. One of his graduation presents is going to be the Mini Cooper. Which is why we're trying to instill this, we're not replacing it for you if you get into a wreck kind of thing. If it's his fault. If it's not, insurance will cover it. I think I see where the other people who built this kit in the past had trouble with it sustaining its own weight. With these polycaps, it's very difficult to press these joints together. You see how it kind of splays right there? Where did my red-handled pliers go? It will. But it's all up to him to learn responsibility. You know? Because when the fusion's paid off, the wife wants to basically use that and brain train derailed again. Damn it, think straight for once, you moron. She wants to trade it in for a newer Mini. Something not so beat up. And she's thinking one of the Clubmans and stuff. Well, honestly, that's part and parcel of owning a living with a high-functioning autistic child. Is you're going to lose a lot of sleep because depending on how it presents, they may not sleep. There was a time when he was 3, 4 that I was so sleep deprived because of him, and I was so hyper alert. And this is well before I started streaming too. I could hear a cat walking on shag carpet in my sleep. Because he would sneak out of his room and go through the house and get things, or come into our room, sneak around to my wife's side of the bed and try and wake her up to do something. So I would hear him come in the room and snap immediately awake. That period of time was absolute hell. Alright, we are getting there, guys. Legs starting to come together pretty quick now that we got all the big pieces assembled. So yeah, this is the part I was talking about earlier. I don't think you were here for it, Nikki. What does that look like? And by the way, on Twitch, if you guys want another streamer to follow, Nikki goes by Solway Studios over there. So check him out. At least give him a follow, if not a subscribe. He needs the subs and stuff a little more than I do. Ah, you were just being quiet. But we also want him to be able to come to the US this winter. Putting that there. Gotcha. Wow, that is a tight fit. How are guys complaining that they're having trouble getting the Camel to stand? Holy crap. I do need to put a clothes peg on there. I need a tighter one. Go. So we got that far on the right leg. We're going to get to the same point on the left leg. I don't want to get too far ahead on any one step, or else I'll lose angles and dangles. You know, one of these days, after you move here, which hopefully will be very soon, I'm going to be driving up to southern Canada where you're going to be living, and I'm bringing some tanks. But I've also been doing some digging around before we move from here to Washington. Apparently there's some pretty decent RC tank clubs in Washington. I don't know how many, if they still all exist, but they are out there. So hopefully I can get ingrained with one, or possibly even restart my own. We plan on moving to a little place called Deer Park, just a little bit of ways from Spokane. Far enough to keep the in-laws away, but in the right area where we're not getting, you know, feet of snow every winter either. It's a couple thousand feet lower than Utah as well in elevation, so the car will breathe easier, and again, it won't snow as easily. It does snow there, but not as frequently at all. And the area also isn't inundated with fanaticals of either side. Ooh, avoid the northeast at all costs. You think Minnesota winters are harsh? Maine and like Delaware and Massachusetts and all that? Very frequent ice storms lately. We'll literally be living in the Pacific Northwest, and to wet your whistle a bit more, join us. No, look up the location of the Evergreen Aviation Museum and see what lives there now. Not only the Spruce Goose, but an SR-71 and some other very important vehicles. the A-10 that lost part of its wing in a wheel that in the first Gulf War back in the 90s, that they still, for some reason, don't acknowledge the pilot and her importance at the time, where they're going and celebrating the more recent pilot that did the same thing. Interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff there you'd like. Model building is much more prevalent there. Come on, you know you want to. Okay, did I put something together backwards here? I did. Well, that's the thing is, I don't mind snow either, if I don't have to go out in it. But at the same time, I'd rather not have as much of it as I'm getting here. And trust me, you'll get tired of it really fast. The Sci-Fi Museum is also up, I think it's just south of Seattle. There's a lot of geek culture stuff up in the Washington State, Oregon area. Oh, and you can also go, on the Goonies tour and go see Ali Sheedy's house from Short Circuit. That's up in Astoria. There is a recreation of Stonehenge, which is accurately aligned for its location on the planet. And not far from there, not far from here either, like I could drive there tomorrow if I wanted to. Some of the first nuclear plants in the world are tourable in Idaho. I've actually been there during open hours. And there's tons of farmers' fields, and it looks like the crop of the season, at least last time I was up there, was cheap square bodies. It's only like 4 hours for as far as travel. By air, it only adds 4 hours. I mean, I know only, but it's not like it's adding a full day. Okay, pop down in there. There you go. And if you think about it from Minnesota, it's probably just 2 hours difference. Is that with layovers? Well, I'll probably have moved up there well before you're moving here. So I'll just bombard you with pictures of my adventures. How's that? But the main thing for me is going to be the woodland I can purchase to have my house in. We're going to be looking for a large plot with a decent size, but smaller than what we got in our house since we won't have our son with us. And a nice pole barn building out back for all of this and the Camaro. But imagine living 2 hours away from an aviation museum. Actually, multiple aviation museums, but the main one being the one that houses the Spruce Goose. And sitting in front of the Spruce Goose is an ME-262 and an FW-190. Yeah, the one back in 91. Her A-10 is on display in the same museum. And then above it is a Sea King helicopter with one of the return modules from one of the lunar missions hanging under it. Sorry, I'm looking at pieces and parts again. Okay, I see how this is starting to work now. We're almost done with the legs. I don't know if I want to do all the hoses before or after paint. A lot of them have to be cut. I know, the Sea King was just a great helicopter overall. So yeah, it's saying to use the J hoses, but cut them to length. The only thing I don't like about this material is paint doesn't stick to it, and it can rot over time. I'm not sensing any... there's a mild rib texture to it. I might actually see if I can go buy some guitar string for the larger bits. I'll use these larger hoses, but for these thin ones, I'm probably just going to cut my own to fit. At least for the external stuff. There's some for the cockpit, though, that are different. I'll see if I have any wire around that's this size that I can use. So yeah, we'll do the wiring later. But I can at least get the base assembly done. I just thought the Sea King was an amazing helicopter overall. And it had the capability to land on water, but the only time I've ever seen it, believe it or not, is in the movie Leviathan. That's why the bottom of it's shaped like a boat hull. One leg down. This is the difficult part, is getting these together without snapping it. There we go. So yeah, I'll be able to do a lot of the filling and sanding with the Mr. Surfacer. Whatever I don't get, it'll fill it in and level it pretty well anyway. So, it is 2 hours in. We're going to take another quick little get up and move around break. Again, if you've been sitting for a while, please get up and move around. Your legs will thank you for it. And then we'll start with main construction of the body of this thing. Probably won't get through all the construction, but I want to at least get the body done. The interior looks to be rather involved. That might just be a separate stream in itself. And if I'm going with the gray outer body, what color was the interior of a Spitfire? I'll have to look that up, but we'll do that when we get back. So, another get up and move around break, everybody. So that Sikorsky is the Merlin, isn't it? Or is it something else? So we're not done with the legs entirely. There's smaller parts I forgot to glue on. I want to get them all out of the way. Move that. Okay. So I need 42, 43. Leopard 1 rearview mirror. That's an Italeri kit part, I think. And if you want some different royalty-free music for your streams, try EVL Sound on YouTube. I haven't got any strikes from their stuff yet, outside of the usual fair use type notification that it comes with. That's what I've been using for the past few streams, and for the most part I like their stuff. Every now and then again they get that weird 90s metal where the guitar and the drums try and keep pace with each other in terms of how many beats per minute, and that just begins to give you a headache. So yeah, these just have little lengths of wire going into them that go into the feet right here. Okay, now I need 48, 49, and 2 11s. Now this one's going to be a little tricky because it requires you to more precisely apply some glue on an area, because the part has to be able to move with the legs. So I'm going to evaluate that, because if the fit's as tight as it has been, I might be able to pop these on and then just apply just a little almost dry brush tab of glue to the very, very tip. Because a lot of these parts have been almost snapped together tight. Not exactly, but close. The Seahawk's a good chopper, but the whole UH-60 series is also getting a little long in the tooth. I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking for well, they are looking for a replacement already. Supposedly they have it. It's some kind of counter-rotating monstrosity with a pusher propeller on the back that just makes no sense. It makes less sense than the V-22. They basically pulled an old design from when they were initially making the Black Hawk, and they're trying to push it again. Okay, so that goes there. That goes there. Honestly, the Sea King has to be one of the most ubiquitous helicopters out there for most people. Okay. So when you're trying to... I wouldn't even try and use super glue for this. So I'm keeping this pulled away, letting the piece sit fully down. I've got my brush almost empty of glue, and I'm putting it right there in the middle. What I don't want to happen is for it to flood and go down the rod and glue it in place. Right? Oh, and Nikki, there's another reason you might want to move to, you know, the Washington State area. Word has it someone's probably going to open a really nice hobby shop there, with provisions to build inside the shop. At least that's the plan, anyway. Okay, that is tight up there. Okay. I'm just making sure all my main joints are still movable after all this glue slinging. At least the model's joints are. I don't know about mine. And another iconic Sea King moment. The opening of the final countdown. Martin Sheen getting shipped out to the Nimitz on a Sea King. I haven't seen that movie in forever. I might have to watch that tonight. Okay. But thanks again, everybody, for watching. And anyone who's subbed on the YouTube side, I do much appreciate it. We're almost at 500, which means we can start the preliminary stuff there for added support. They changed that up a little bit. And if you're on the Twitch side, any support you can give there is much appreciated as well. I'm trying to consider what other ways I could do a layout change down here in my hobby space as well. But I really can't think of anything at the moment, but I'm sure something will come to me. There's that. I almost want to rotate my desk 180 degrees. So that way this wall is behind me now. I don't know, that might... I don't know. Because if I do that and move it that way, I could bring the couch... Yeah. I don't know. Just trying to think of different things in order to make the space feel bigger. Feels a little tiny right now. Alright, so with that now, the base construction of the legs is done. I'm just seeing Charlie, Alpha, and Bravo on here. I'm going to put the D sprues away for now. Charlie, Bravo, Alpha. You know what? Let's throw the pilot together. I'm thinking orange for the flight suit. I know that's probably typical, but something that'll make it stand out inside the cockpit. Helmet or no helmet? Because it doesn't really come with a clear piece for the visor. And I hate to get on a nostalgia trip, but I was just thinking, we're talking about all these older movies and stuff. What was it about growing up in the late 80s, early 90s era? Like, where I grew up, it was literally, it was no shit, a tiny town on the coast of Florida. It was a blink, at the time it was a blink and you miss it kind of place, right? However, you know, I'd be outside mowing the lawn, or even when I was younger, just playing. And there was no major military installations nearby, but there was a Grumman depot. I grew up, there's somebody that owned his own P-51, and he'd fly that around all the time. Like, I'd be mowing the grass, and you'd hear those gun barrels just howling in the air. And then after that, oh, there goes a Mohawk, an OV-1D Mohawk. F-14's doing their functional check flights. And again, I'm saying there's just no major military installation. It was just simply an aircraft maintenance depot. But there was just so much going on at that time. I don't know, it felt more involved living back then than it does now. Or was I just lucky to have grown up in such an unusually weird place? Yeah, just to me anyway, it just felt like there was always something going on. Let's skip ahead a little bit. I don't know why, this pilot is reminding me of the monkey pilots in the Ertl Snowspeeder kit. The picture shows them being up further, but it naturally fits there really well. I'm not gonna fuddle with it. I'll move the controls to his hands if I have to. And the only time I had ever felt anything like what it was to grow up in that town was actually when I was living in England, and while Duxford was a 45-minute drive from my house, we were in the flight path of a lot of the aircraft that would come in and out of there. So I'd see, like, the occasional Lancaster, Spitfires, just P-40s, anything that was flying over there. It had that same feeling. Living in Elsinore, Cronenberg Castle, or Kronborg. Nice. I guess it's true, the saying that a lot of us are homesick because of the memories of places that don't exist anymore. I know I am, at least. Alright, so 10 is his right foot. I think I'll save the helmet idea for last, because I kind of like being able to see the pilot's full head and face for right now. I'll see how it comes out paint-wise. And maybe just have the helmet kind of in the cockpit, ready for him to put on. At least this figure feels like it fits the model. Unlike the Fledermaus pilot, which just... that thing was all kinds of wrong. There we go. And that'll help us align things in the cockpit when we get to putting that together. Because he's got his little control sticks here. So, looking at this, it almost looks like this ball would be able to raise and lower and do some things too. We'll find out more when it's built. It's one thing I've always wondered about this model. Anywho, let's get on to the main body. Okay, I can leave the thruster bell off. That's good, because I want to paint it separately. C 15, 16, 22. Okay, there's 22. So, did anyone happen to catch the meteor shower on the 5th or 6th? Because apparently it was residual debris from Halley's Comet when it passed by back in the 80s. Unfortunately here, it was raining all night. But I do remember seeing Halley's Comet back in the 80s when it was coming by. It was still, where I lived at least, you could still go out at night and it was pitch black, so... Just like I remember seeing, what was it, Hailbop back in the 90s? I think it was 97 or was it 98? I think it was late 97 when that came by. But I remember walking into work from my dorm across the flight line, just watching that thing go by with its little offshoot tail. It's weird how my brain skips around, isn't it? A5, PCF, and C2. Okay. So this thing goes all the way into here, but you don't glue it. So that goes like that. Excuse me again. That's there, and then C28. Okay, this is the retainer for it all, I guess. Goes like that. I never did get to Denmark. I've been to Holland, Germany, Belgium, France, England. Never was able to get to Denmark. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. So it goes in that way. And then gets the twisty. Oh, I see. It gets the twisty, then the clippy somehow. So I need that through more apparently. But how does it get the clippy? It doesn't have the angle for the clippy. Okay. Does it have to come through more? Or do I have to plug it in here and then flip that forward and then move that back? Yep. Ooh, wow, my finger was just doing the twitchy thing. Okay. Let's get you plugged in, and you might move back far enough. Aha! There we go. So, unlike what the instructions say... Okay, no, the instructions are right. So you do the sticky, twisty, pluggy, clippy, not clippy, pluggy. So that way, when it's all together... There's going to be a little like beaver tail that gets onto here, and then you got your thruster nozzle here, and they'll move with each other. But they're going to stay off for right now because they're going to be painted differently. But we'll at least assemble these pieces. B4, B5. Oh. Yeah, this is actually one of the more involved models I've had to build. Like, the nut rocker, it had a lot of parts, but it was pretty basic. Everything was just scab glued on the outside. You don't get a lot of the models having, like, linked and moving parts like this. I wish I could find the old kit of the Jerry for, you know, not insane monies. It was the other mercenary two-leg suit. Kind of goofy, but there was a few different variations on it. There was the Goblin, the Super Jerry, the Kangaroo. You might like the Oscar, though. It's got a larger... Imagine... Okay, so you know how the Nut Rocker is supposed to be like their main battle tank equivalent, right? The Oscar is more of a scout, but the Wave Kit is 1/20th scale, where the Hasegawa Nut Rocker is 35th scale. So I've got an Oscar on the way. That one's going to be kind of fun. And no, I'm not going to get the resin engine set and all this other stuff for it. That's a bit much. Yeah, so once I get ready to put this in, it will slot in here, and then it'll be movable like that. Excuse me. Holy crap. There's a lot going on here. So let's get all the pieces ready that we're going to need. Got plastic shavings in my mouth. I've heard of becoming one with the model, but that's a bit ridiculous. Whew. Yeah, after the Falk, I honestly didn't think we'd be getting another large machining Krieger kit like this one for a while. It seemed like every time they did a big one, they went to 35th scale for the subject. Okay, I'm just going to cut this off so I can get the sprue off the desk. Because you've got the Luna Diver Stingray, which honestly is impressive in 1/20th scale and could have been done, but they did that in 35th. The Nut Rocker, I can kind of see why they did that in 35th scale, because it is absolutely massive. That's going to be some nasty cleanup there. But that's okay, we're going to be doing cast texture as well. Ugh, sorry. That was a big yawn. Who do we have down here with us? I could have sworn there was a cat. Oh, there are. Frankie, why are you rubbing your head on the tiger? No, don't chew on the antenna. Come here. Come here. Come here, Frank. Come on. Get down. Good boy. Frankie was trying to chew on the metal antenna on my tiger. I'm going to be taking that out for a run after the stream. Darn it. I might need a new blade. I don't like it when they delaminate the plastic like that. This entire area is going to need filling anyway. It's just one big long seam. C33. Yeah, the cockpit will most likely be its own stream on Monday, which is good. It's supposed to rain that day. At least that's what the forecast's been saying. But on most of the rainy days that it's supposed to have had recently, it hasn't. Okay, so this will be the internal axle for the legs. Okay. Starting to make sense now. And then B29. But if things work out right once we move, there's going to be a lot of good things happening, I think. I hope so, anyway. I'd like to set a goal and achieve it for once, without any real hassle. Now, is that supposed to stick out, or is that supposed to be flush? I'm thinking flush. Yeah. Alright, get a little more music going. Like I said, I at least want to have the body assembled before I stop stream today. Excuse me. Ugh. I also have to get the hedge trimmers out today and do some work there. Trying to get the yard ready for the graduation party in a couple weeks. And there's an area we want everyone to go through because we're going to have the in-laws in town, my parents in town, and some other people. But the main thing we don't want is a bunch of people coming through the house. We just want to direct all the traffic through the side gate and around. So for that, I need to cut back a bush that's become overgrown on the side of the house. But this is really starting to fall together now. Like I said, we had to get past the legs to get to the fun bit, you know, the part that makes you feel like you're really starting to go somewhere. Now the instructions say to paint all this black. Before I do that, I want to see how much of this is going to be visible. Because this might work better as like a more of the same color as the cockpit. More of like a service bay kind of thing. Black I think would be too rich, too deep. So at worst a dark gray like gunship gray or something, but not black. Okay. And this is backwards. Goes here. There we go, and then up there. There we go. All right. That was a satisfying little pop, wasn't it? Yeah, we're definitely going to have to do some seam filling and rescribing before we move into the cast texture coat, especially right here. It doesn't show up too well for you guys, I think. Let me see. Can we get the light to catch it? There's an oval shaped pattern right here for a panel. Mold draw, because it's a recessed line on the side of a mold, has basically obliterated it. Same for this one here. So we're going to have to restore those and the panel line going across it as we sand and fill seams. So it looks like we're getting a unexpected encore today, because normally I've cut it off by 3 hours. But we're having a good old time, so we're going to keep going for a little bit. Need to figure out how much more stuff's going on here so I can get the pieces on. We'll get this back piece on, the belly piece. Basically anything that might cover a seam and give us a little less work to do, because I can always stipple around the parts when it comes to the texturing. Let's get the main body part in up here. Nice little ledge there. What's going on? What's going on here? I'm going to apply some glue, let it tack up, and that'll help us position things. Because this side's basically right there, the other side's a bit weird. Alright. Nothing a little putty can't fix, or Mr. Surfacer, so we're good there. Next page. Okay. So it looks like a lot of stuff will be covered. Anything that goes over a seam, I'll install now. But a lot of things... Son of a bitch. They didn't call out I had to drill any holes. Looking to see if there's even a divot. There's not. There's just little marks in the hull. You can see them now. Oh wait, no, you don't have to drill, do you? You don't. They're just there as standoffs. Okay. Yeah, it looks like a lot of the other stuff's getting scabbed on. This will cover this seam, and there's another part in here that covers this seam. So yeah, let me get this puttied up. We'll let that dry. C40. Because sanding is slow and boring. I want to at least take care of the seams off stream. I'll do scribing and panel restoration on stream. And the stippling for the cast texture again. So it's always somewhat fun to watch. But yeah, we'll get the boring stuff taken care of off stream and come back on Monday for completing the scab work on the body, which is just all the little details being glued on. And after that, we'll start on the cockpit. Alright, Let's get you on here. There we go. How do you fit into all this? We're just gonna temporarily put the legs on. Okay, nice little pivot there. Nice. This makes me want to print out another moose and build that too. This guy's going to be pretty big size. I mean, I got some big hands, you know. Yeah, we'll get to puttying, and I'll do some sanding over the next couple days and have everything else ready for Monday. So thank you again to everybody who subbed on the YouTube side. I noticed we got a couple over there. And thanks for everybody who watched. It has been a very good stream. But I have to take care of some other things around the house now. So thank you very much for watching and joining in. And I'll see you all Monday. Have a good day.